Hi everyone, welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm Kris and I'm your Cardvoyant. And today, as promised, a day late, but I did promise and I am here. I'm here to do a short reading. And what we'll be doing the reading on today is just the situation. It's one of those things where I don't really even know what to ask. It's kind of a plea for help, for understanding, for knowledge, for anything that my guides, your guides, these Jacob's guides that I started out by calling my pandemic guides, whatever they have for us, whatever message that they have that can help us. So a few things. When I read, and this actually will give you a good idea of how I read if you haven't seen some of the other readings that I've done. When I read, I shuffle for a long time in order to connect with my guides, or if I'm reading for a client, with their guides as well as mine. And during that time while I'm shuffling, I also am asking a question, whatever questions my client, or in this case, us, what we want to know. Then I get an idea for how many cards to lay down. And because I don't use like traditional spreads, it just sort of comes to me, and it varies from person to person, from time to time, and also according to the time I have. Then I get an idea for what the spread will look like. If I'm reading for an hour, there might be 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. And so the spread, how it looks, is going to be different. I'm thinking now, just because I want to keep this, manageable time-wise, there'll probably be only 2 or 3 cards. I was doing 1-card readings, but I'd like to expand that a little. You can talk for a long time, or at least I can, on with 1 card, but there's always illumination to be had when there's more than 1 card, 2 or 3 cards. So right now I'm thinking 3 cards. We'll see what my guides have to say about that. Now, in this video, I will cut out most of the shuffling, but I thought that, because it's so easy while you're editing stuff to see the time, so I'll let you know how long I shuffle, because I feel sometimes like it's really long. And I always don't include that when I do audio readings for people. I just start the audio reading after I've done all that, to sort of be fair to the time that you have paid for when you have a reading from me. So, and also, if you are interested in having a reading, or if you feel like it's that time for you that you want to have a reading, that you can book all that through my website, which is cardvoyant.com. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and let's do this this little reading here and see what my guides, your guides, my Jacob's guides have to say that may be of help to us. So I'm going to start the shuffling process, and I'll put this down so you can see. As you can see, it's kind of casual Sunday around here, but I wanted to get this reading out to you, so. Well, those are interesting cards, right? So, as you can see, 3 cards as I had kind of intended, and my guides worked with me on that. So it's kind of a little bit different. A lot of times I will have in a reading a pyramid shape, and with 3 cards you could do that. You have 1 on top, and then the next 2. But I felt like I should have this middle card just slightly raised. I'm not sure why at this point, but we'll find out, hopefully. Um, And then we've got, in this 3-card reading, we've got this one major arcana card, this very sort of telling and interesting card, the Devil card. So let's just start reading in the row, right? So the Devil card, this card is one of those cards when people get it in readings that it looks scary, and just naming it, just calling it the Devil card, you get all of these connotations, these Satan and evil spirits and all those kinds of things, and that this isn't what it's about. Even though it has this traditional devil imagery, it's not it's not about that, but it does speak to things that we associate with the devil, right? And as you can see in this card, you've got these this male and female figures, and they're chained to this throne on which the devil sits, right? And they're sprouting horns. They're starting to take on these devil characteristics, and the devil sort of lords over them. There's this fire here in his scepter that is this energy that's associated with this. Now, this is talking, when I was shuffling, what I was asking is what we need to know, what it would help us to know, and what it would be good for us to know at this time. And here we start with the Devil card, and that's talking about the ways in which all of us, our societies, our systems, our ways of thinking have become chained to certain repetition and repetitious ways, these things that bind us to ideas, old ideas, many ideas and things that don't serve us. And the thing is about the Devil card, and the Devil card can often be about things like addictions, right? And that's what we're talking about here, is an addiction to a way of life. And this permeates everything that we're talking about here, that's sort of going on in the world right now, that upheaval is having an effect on. We're talking about the way that we treat the environment. We're talking about the way we treat each other, for sure. We're talking about the systems that we have in place and the way that they treat us, the way that we allow ourselves to be treated, and also the things that we, as a society and as a world, place importance upon, right? So maybe the importance that we've placed on, or we're realizing through all of this happening, we're about to enter the summer season here in this hemisphere, and I'm in Northern California, where we've had horrible fires. There have been floods already this year, hurricane force almost winds affecting areas of the country. And it didn't used to be that when you started the summer season that there was this fear associated with it. But we're talking about the ways in which we've placed importance, or more, our central thinking has been gathered around mechanization, corporations, this idea of progress, about all these things that we have sort of built at the expense, often, of the natural world. And this is what this Devil card is talking about. All these things that we, for decades and decades, have been building on and producing ourselves, right? Because we've got these very human figures here, right? And yet they're taking on they're beginning to take on these characteristics. And one of the main messages of this card is, as you can see, these two human figures here are chained, but there's those chains, if they will, are removable, right? These figures may have become used to them, so in a sense they're comfortable. But if they're forced to try and move, or they want to try and move forward, or move at all, they're going to have to do something about these chains. Something is going to have to change about this situation if they want to move at all, if they want to move forward, if they want to um, feel better, be better, right? Because this isn't exactly an enviable place to be here at the foot of the devil's throne with fire so near you and really nowhere to turn except being in this space. And this is what's happening. We're being forced to address the change that are around us if we want to move forward and move away from this. The fire in this devil depiction is different from a fiery passion because it has with it a sense also of danger. And so if we want to move away from that, we're going to have to unloose these chains. We're going to have to remove ourselves from this situation. And um, because of everything that's happening, because of the point that we've gotten to on all these different issues, we're being forced to make a choice. Are we going to sort of stand in the midst of this devilry? Or are we going to take off these chains and move forward, turn around and take a good look at where we've been, right? And this is happening on many fronts. I mean, it's so obvious to see the things that are happening here as far as justice, as far as racial justice, as far as social justice, equality in all of its forms. But we are also talking about the environment. We're talking about systems. The COVID-19 situation has forced us to look at so many different systems, not just healthcare, but the way that we treat people, the way that we care for the elderly, the way that our government cares for us, right? So we're looking at all these things that have had this sort of um, binding force. They have been sort of a binding force that have kept us tied to the devil here. And the devil here is, we can't personify it. I mean, you may say, oh, this person has to do with the devil, but this is talking about the feeling, the overall ways in which the things that we build sometimes can trap us and eventually harm us. And so we have to look at what we've built and decide if we're willing to stay chained to what we've built or if we are ready to move on. And everything that's happening is forcing us to make that decision on so many different fronts, right? So then you get this Queen of Swords, this middle card, and as you can see, I've raised it slightly, and there's a reason for that. Now, I've talked about this several times, and it comes up again here because this swords are about so often about intellectual energy, right? They're about our thinking minds. So many of the sword cards have to do with very physical situations, and that's why sometimes they can look so difficult and challenging. But here we have the Queen. Of course, there's a King of Swords, right? And these are kinds of the purveyors of this swords energy that talks about the intellect, about the mind, about doing these physical things backed by our thinking minds. And yet the sword cards the swords in the sword cards either point up or down. There are a couple instances where there are some swords kind of horizontal, but overall there's like swords are pointing up and swords are pointing down. And here we have the Queen card where it's pointing straight up. The King card, actually, the sword's just slightly askew, right? But here it's pointing straight up because it's talking about the ways in which the fulfillment of this sword energy comes when it's connected with the spiritual, and that's why it points up. And it comes across as this Queen energy also because it's talking about attributes that we associate with the feminine, with the divine feminine. And those are nurturing, caring, listening, right? And here we get this queen who is talking about all of these things that it is incumbent upon us now as a people to move toward, to embrace this queen energy now. She's also a sword card. There are Queen of Cups is all about love, right? Or even the Queen of Pentacles, about these things, physical things that are happening, or this Queen of Wands, passionate energy. But here you've got the Queen of Swords, because it's important that even as we do this, we take that sword energy and move forward with it, because sword energy, swords cut things out. They cut things out that are unnecessary. I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about removing things, and with a swiftness and with determination and with accuracy, out of our lives that no longer serve us, right? Swords are double-edged for a reason. They can cut through things that we no longer need, and they cut out things that are actually harming us and no longer serving us. So this is calling on us. And the other thing about this card, you'll notice this cherub on the card, and I feel like this talks so much about our future, what we want to bring in to our lives in the future. So what do we need to cut out to provide a better future for the coming generations, for our children, for our children's children, for their children, right? Because we are at a juncture where we're truly deciding that, right? Now, some people see all of this happening, they feel all this happening, and they feel the energy, but they aren't sort of able to understand how to best challenge it, how to take on this Queen of Swords energy. So they channel it elsewhere, and they're also still, we just talked about this Devil card. They're still in this state where they're willing to stay changed because they're used to it, right? At least, if nothing else, it's familiar, and that you can see these figures in the Devil card, going back to that, have been there long enough that they're starting to sort of not only, it's shown by taking on these devil characteristics, but that's because they've become comfortable there. Like, it's what they know, so they sort of are growing into it. This Queen of Sword card calls on us to cut that out, but some people are, cut out that devil energy, but some people are not quite ready for that. It's just so much easier to remain in this state that has become comfortable for them. So we have to understand that, and we have to I think it's important, and this Queen of Swords speaks of it, especially with this cherub and this lovely butterfly on her throne, speaks of the ways in which we need to retain our love for our fellow man, that is shown here as the cherub, and for nature in all of its forms, that is shown here by the butterfly. So even as we cut out things, as we determine that we will not go back, or that we simply must move forward toward this more balanced, loving state of being, and that refers to each other and nature, and even our systems, right? And the people that we choose to sort of govern us, that all of that needs to form these things, this more loving, balanced nature. And so we do get this Queen of Swords who urges us to do that, and also speaks of the ways in which we need to remain connected to source, this higher energy, with the sword pointing up here. The other thing I would point out is that you can see in the background here, you've got this trees and water. Water always kind of speaks about that eternal psychic nature, that internal self, and that external non-physical world guidance. That's this water in this picture, but you can also see the trees. And to me here, the trees are important because you can see they're moving. And I feel like this it very much speaks about the winds of change, the things that are coming, the ways in which we have to remain firm in what we are building and adhering to and believe in, even in this midst of change, this great upheaval, this move away from the devil card, right? So finally, our last card here is the Two of Wands. And, I love this card. Whenever I get it, I feel like it's such a positive energy and a positive statement. And, two cards are funny because the cards they sort of move in this progression, and you think, oh, the two, it's a low number. It's not like the 10 that is sort of this fulfillment card. So you've got this two card, but it's really lovely because it talks about this change. And wands cards are all about the things we care about, the things we're passionate about, the creativity that we bring into this world as individuals and as families, groups, societies, you know, large units, as humanity, right? But they're what we really care about, the things that are really important to us, to move forward and just to express the things that we came into physical existence to express, right? And here you've got two, and you can see the figure in the card is holding on to this one sword, and this talks again about the duality that we're facing here, these things that we're passionate about. What are we holding on to? What wands things sort of flank us? What are we willing to stand inside of, that we're passionate about, that we care about, that we're trying to bring into the world? We're having to look at that right now, and each of us. This isn't just our society or our government. Each of us personally is having to decide which wand we'll grasp. What do we want to bring into the world? Are we staying tethered, chained even to these sort of old ideas? Are we comfortable with them? Is this what we want? Is this the society that we thought we were building or that we want to build, right? Or are we sort of moving on to this Queen of Swords energy? And in doing so, then what do we want to bring into the world? We're really, each of us, this, we tend to think of this as, I think sometimes, especially when we're feeling like worn down, like, feeling of powerlessness, right? What can I even do? It's like, somebody fix this, right? And that's so often the message that we want to get in like a reading like this is, okay, who's going to fix this and when is it going to be fixed, right? But this reading is talking about the individual power that we have and how we utilize that, right? How do we actually feel when it comes time to step into that voting booth? What are we voting for? When there's something that we encounter in our neighborhood, in our schools, in our churches, that we don't feel right about, or that we thoroughly stand behind, how are we dedicating ourselves to that? How are we taking on this Queen of Swords energy to cut a path, a better path, or to cut things out that we need to? And finally, with this Two of Swords card, what are we grasping onto? What will guide us to this new place that we're headed, the future, just in general? Look at the figure in this card, how he's holding this globe. I mean, isn't that perfect for right now, what we're talking about? Staring ourselves in the face, ourselves laid bare, and saying, what is it? Where are we going now? What is it that we want? What is it that we hold dear? That what truths do we hold to be self-evident, and what are we willing to um, give up? What do we feel we must build for the planet? I mean, it's for ourselves. Again, there's this very personal energy, but it's also for our families, it's for our schools and our churches and our local governments and our all these little local institutions, our, you know, our food banks and our community organizations, all of these things. Um, what are we building within those structures, and even our larger structures, our states and our countries, our continents, our world? And that's why this figure looks at the entire globe here, the planet here, because that's what's happening. And even as we watch it happen on this global level, and sometimes things we feel removed from them because of you know, mass media. That's the way, especially when we're in lockdown, that's the way most of us are receiving this, unless you're actually, you know, taking part in protests and stuff like that. But even then, your very your experiences, your actual physical experience is localized, even though we're seeing this worldwide situation that can lead us feeling like things are happening around us, but not like with us, right? But it is happening with us. We're each a part of it. And as we decide these things, and even if it's just a mental shift that you've decided, this is right, this is what I believe in, and this, you know, maybe I don't, maybe I put this aside, but I feel strongly about that. Even those feelings have power. Even those thoughts have power. And in believing them, in feeling them, in thinking them, in talking about them, in meditating on them, you are affecting change, as we all are. And this great release from this devil card, this separation from these things that no longer serve us, is furthered, and it is happening. And we do sort of step forward, like this Two of Wands card is saying that we're doing and instructing us to do. And we do step forward. It's a question of, what are we stepping toward? And so this reading is really calling on us to realize what we have been tethered to, the power that we have, and how we step forward with that, what we bring into the future, because it's up to us. We're bringing about the future. It isn't happening to us. We're participating in it. And that's why you get this lovely Two of Wands card here. I may have said swords, but it's Two of Wands card. And all these cards that are so helpful to us. So there you have it. I could go on, but I can just do that. I just tend to go on, and I have to stop myself because often you start sort of repeating the message. So hopefully this is clear, the message that we got here. And sincerely, I hope this is helpful. And I hope that the messages in general that you receive on this channel are helpful to you. Kim and I were talking, my sister Kim, who is Kim from Intuitive View. We're talking yesterday, and we have a plan to do another Psychic Sisters video this week. So that will be coming up, and I know she has other videos planned as well. So you'll have those also to refer to. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching this. I do hope this is helpful. And until the next video, I will just say, as I always do, please take care of yourself. Please take care of others. And until next time, I'll just say bye for now.